Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to do a quick live here, post a topic. We're going to talk about mental toughness, particularly as an entrepreneur. I'm going to pin that. Mental toughness. Why is that important? Why is a lawyer talking about mental toughness? Two reasons for that. Number one, most of my clients are entrepreneurs, right? So I have advised and I've counted them a few times, at least over 1,000 entrepreneurs over the course of 12 years of practicing law. And that's personal advice. That is not what my partner has advised or some other attorney in my law firm. I've personally given advice to or represented over 1,000 entrepreneurs. And I've learned a thing or two from those entrepreneur clients, particularly the ones who are successful, who have significant difficulties or disputes, litigation, defamation campaigns, significant e-commerce problems, getting shut down, having to start over, getting wiped out. And I've noticed that every single one of them that is successful has this one particular attribute, and that is unwavering mental toughness. Grit is what some people would call it, right? The ability to work through a problem relentlessly without looking over their shoulder to see what they left on the ground behind them, and being able to move at a quick pace, trusting their gut with that grit and with that relentless, sort of fearless attitude and mental toughness. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. It's much, much easier said than done. Much, much easier said than done. But mental toughness, if you can learn it, and it is a skill that's acquired, it is something that you can learn, be trained by a professional, a consultant, a coach, a therapist, whomever, who's properly credentialed and knows what they're doing. Once you acquire the skill for mental toughness, life becomes so much easier because you stop focusing on what is going on outside and you start focusing on what's going on within you and how to overcome the obstacles that you're seeing. And as an entrepreneur, that is everything. That's the difference between getting turned down 20 times from an investor and having the 21st one invest the $1 million you need, or going through 20 different iterations of a product or of a service before you throw your hands up and say, I can't do this anymore, and then on the 21st one you nail it and knock it out of the park. That's what mental toughness is about. It's about the continued effort. It's about the ability to see through the problems and see objectives instead of problems. So I just wanted to jump on and just emphasize that as an entrepreneur, this is probably the most underutilized skill or underdeveloped skill, undertrained skill. And I think there's a reason for it. I think there's this appeal that entrepreneurship is a sexy thing and that it just takes off. And if it doesn't take off the first time or the second time, then you just leave it alone. And people haven't developed that mental toughness muscle enough. The other place that I see this in my practice a lot is advising clients through defamation campaigns, right? So again, most of my clients, when we're at the point of litigation, the defamation is significant enough to where they have to take matters to the next level, retain counsel, and truly fight. And guess what? Sometimes you're on the losing end of that fight. Whether a losing end means the campaign is so significant that you don't have the resources to spend to fight it, or maybe you fought it, you went to court and you lost. Legitimately, you lost. How do you handle that? Well, do you just give up? Do you throw your hands up in the air and say you're going to give up on life? What do you do? How do you handle that? Well, the answer to that is mental toughness. Mental toughness is the one skill that you can rely on time and time and time again that will never fail you. That's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to allow you to grow and advance. Particularly, and I want to emphasize this with my defamation clients, it's very, very hard. Some of my clients were successful entrepreneurs before they got hit with some significant defamation campaign, and they can't stick their head out in the public, or at least that's how they feel, for maybe 6 months, a year to 2 years. Maybe they don't feel like shooting content anymore because they've taken a slap around, and maybe somebody proved them right, and they were in the wrong. But their ability to bounce back is what makes all the difference in the world. So I want to just emphasize that. Entrepreneurs, victims of defamation, same deal. Being relentless, mental toughness will take you far. It will take you places. And again, if you didn't hear me say this before, I'm saying it again. after having counseled over 1,000 entrepreneurs, mental toughness is the one quality that I can say I've seen repeatedly. And it is also the most difficult quality to develop. It's the most underutilized quality. But it's also something that is very trainable. So what is a practical application of mental toughness in the day-to-day life of a lawyer? Well, we are constantly adversarial. We're constantly having lawyers, judges, clients tell us that we're wrong, or clients telling us difficult news like they don't want to work with us anymore, or a judge saying, I'm sorry, I gave you 3 hours at trial or for this hearing and I disagree with you and I'm going to rule against you and here's why. And having that put down on paper and having to share that with your client after they paid you a boatload of money to try to do a job. Well, as lawyers, we don't promise results. We promise grit. We promise to be competent. We promise to work hard. We promise to represent our clients. We promise to do so ethically. We can't promise a result. So how does it feel as a lawyer when you've sunk your heart into a case for 2 or 3 years only to get smacked down? And that is a very, very difficult thing to digest. And that's why as lawyers, you need to build the grit and you need to build the mental toughness. And I can think of very few professions short of ripping off your shirt and fighting in a UFC or a wrestling match, where grit and mental toughness matter so much. Thanks, Chris, for the compliment on the beard. I'm regretting trimming it. I actually trimmed it down. It was a lot thicker and denser. But, you learn from your mistakes, I guess. But anyway, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about mental toughness. I'm going to post this video. Maybe you can post a comment about some examples of mental toughness where you pulled through and you thought you couldn't, or maybe some questions on mental toughness, how we as lawyers overcome these obstacles. And again, advising entrepreneurs on their day-to-day issues and in litigation or complex transactions, it's very easy if you're not in front of people who are always having to be on their A game to fall short-sighted on what it's like to actually develop that mental toughness muscle and to completely ignore it or have no idea what it even is. And I think I'm uniquely situated to comment on that because of the nature of my clients, the nature of my work, and especially for any lawyer who's listening to this now or in the future. I think it's just something you have to have in your toolkit. So Chris asked a great question. Mental toughness is not over advocating, though. Do you think ego can get wrapped up in the proverbial fight? This is such a great question. So I want to just ask this out loud again. Do you think ego can get wrapped up in the proverbial fight? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because guess what? In every legal dispute especially, somebody is inherently wrong, right? You've heard the story. There's 3 sides to a story. And probably that's true. Somebody's telling a little bit of the truth on the right side. Somebody's telling a little bit of the truth on the left side, or plaintiff defendant. But sometimes it's in the middle. But somebody is usually wrong on something, and that something can be big. And so when lawyers get into it and they want to be tough, and I'm not talking about mental toughness now, I'm talking about putting on the beating your chest and maybe posturing a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes too far. I think it in fact impacts the lawyer's objectivity or a client's objectivity. And actually, this is extremely important as a professional, that you have to be an investigator first. You don't always just trust what your clients say, right? You want to trust what they say. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to actually find the truth, or at least find the angle that you can work with and argue and develop colorable arguments for. So I do think that egos get in the way. I do think that people say, I'm so-and-so with such and such credential, and I've been doing this for XYZ number of years, and this is why I'm right. When none of that matters. You could have somebody who just rolled out of law school yesterday, who's on the right side of a dispute, meaning they have the better facts. And you can argue till you're blue in the face, but you can't win that fight when somebody has the better facts and legally they're correct. And so I do think that ego can definitely get in the way. So that's a great question. What is a tip? People often ask, what's a tip to build mental toughness, to build resilience? What are some things that we can learn from clients who've gone through complicated defamation campaigns, for example, right? So clients that I work with regularly, or e-commerce entrepreneurs that have been slapped up by their competition. What are some of the tips that you can do to develop mental toughness? And there's one tip that comes to mind that's very easy to remember. And this is the tip. At the end of the day, the world starts again tomorrow. So no matter how bad you're feeling about a loss, you took a really bad L in court, or you're the client, you spend a lot of money on a venture and it's failed, and now you're scratching your head and you don't know what you're going to do. No matter what, the day starts again tomorrow. Knowing that everything wipes itself clean, it's a clean slate every 24 hours, actually lends itself to building the foundation of understanding mental toughness, because it goes to the heart of the question, which is everybody has to start over in 24-hour increments. Everything ends in 24-hour increments to some degree, right? You always have an end and you always have a new beginning. So that's something that I like to remind myself of every single day. It's a kind of a useful tip. It's a fresh morning tomorrow, no matter how great or how bad the day was, how horrible the loss was, things didn't go your way. It's a fresh new day tomorrow. And even if that happens on a recurring basis, you take those L's for a month straight, guess what? The 31st day can be different. So that's my quick live advice here. We're going to post this, and again, if you're listening to this and it's not on the live, it's on our republished post, comment, tell me an example of a time when you use grit, or maybe you're struggling and you have other questions relating to mental toughness you want to ask. We're happy to answer those questions. Maybe you have suggestions for content you'd like us to cover. We love to cover anything that is in the entrepreneurial realm, things that relate to online defamation and e-commerce. That's our niche. Let me know. Until next time, thanks for joining, and we'll see you later.